For ages, human beings looked into the sky with wonder, envying the birds. As science and understanding flourished, we began to take those ancient dreams and make them come true by taking to the air ourselves. Early steps turned into great leaps as balloons and airplanes gave way to jet aircraft and rockets. We've been sending specialists into space for over 50 years, and we're proud of their accomplishments. Yet more and more people are asking, when will this adventure include us?
Space represents the best of humanity. It represents adventure and international cooperation and exploration, courage, things that I think represent the best of all of us.
My belief is we will continue to grow, and we will always have this urge, it's almost genetic, to explore and go further.
When you think about space, it's a way for us to move beyond our planet out into the unknown in the way that explorers used to when they left their home shores and crossed the ocean into completely unknown. That's the kind of thing you can do in space. And don't forget that when you go to space, you're not just looking out into the deep blackness of beyond. You also turn around and you look back at our home planet in a way that so few people have been able to do.
Hello, I'm David Brin, astronomer and science fiction author. Curiosity is hardwired into the human condition. The innocent wonder of a child, a researcher's need to understand, the entrepreneur's drive to achieve, a traveler's desire to see beyond the next hill. Just like in the early days of aviation at the start of the last century, with names like Wright, Curtiss, Douglas, Fokker, and Northrop, that same spirit of adventure and curiosity has captured a new group of visionary pioneers who are taking a leap of faith into the future.
Most of them are doing it because they understand at a deep level that space is part of humanity's future. They think that's important. They see what they're doing as being part of bringing the day closer when everybody who wants to go can go, and they're right.
Today, it's actually pretty rare to know somebody who's been to space. But I think, give us 5, 10, 20 years, it's going to be very common for people to know somebody.
I think most of us think of space as high G's and uncomfortable and really only for the exclusive few who can do that kind of thing. And so we've really wanted to turn that whole idea on its head and make something that we would all be comfortable doing.
For a while, it seemed we were on our way to the stars. But retirement of the space shuttle made some people wonder if the dream had been abandoned. How quickly we forget how far we've already come. We use satellites to study our ever-changing Earth and orbiting telescopes to pierce universal origins. Our emissary probes have visited every planet and moon in the solar system and are now speeding into interstellar space. Yet our adventure out there has only just begun. Near the end of the 20th century, we knew of no planets beyond those circling our sun. Now, thanks to one research mission, we have counted and are studying thousands of new worlds. Imagine doing without communication satellites that relay our calls, our data, and our entertainments. Or weather satellites to monitor Earth's changing climate. Or GPS satellites that track our packages and help us get where we want to go. The impact that space exploration has had upon science, industry, society, and everyday life on Earth is monumental.
I do think space is extremely important to the future of our country and the world. Space is a new arena for human beings. And every time in the past that human beings have gone into a whole new arena, it has ended up meaning a lot.
Already, space brings tremendous benefit to people on Earth. Partly that's through communication satellites, it's through navigation satellites, it's through remote sensing satellites. And all of those benefits are both really important to people on Earth, and they're also really good businesses.
Today we can manage and optimize crop yields using remote sensing from orbit to feed an additional 2 billion people. 2 billion. And the same technologies track deforestation and pollution, helping us to tend the planet. When facing a tough challenge, people often say, well, if we can put a man on the moon, then we can do this. And it's a fair point to rally around. Getting into space is hard, especially when you're sending people. But while the shuttle program proved you can make a reusable spaceship, it was also very expensive. Government agencies do some things very well, but lowering cost? This 1 pound bottle of water would cost $15,000 to send into low Earth orbit on the shuttle. That adds up to hundreds of millions of dollars per launch.
It's very expensive to go to space. It always has been and it probably always will be. So it's important, therefore, that we have revenue streams and a business model that makes it efficient to go to space. Taxpayers have less and less patience for paying for things all by themselves.
There's a virtuous circle in most transportation industries that we haven't yet had in space, where the more trips you take, the more volume of transportation you have, the lower the price gets. And the lower the price gets, the more users of transportation there become, and therefore the more trips are made and the more traffic there is. Space has been stuck in a low traffic volume, not very frequent, very expensive flight regime.
Today, a new generation of space pioneers are stepping forward, leveraging what we've learned from previous programs with new innovations and commercial technologies. Many amassed their fortunes and changed the way we live by disrupting other industries with new technologies or business models. And they see an opportunity to do that now with commercial space travel and exploration.
I think what's so exciting today about space is the tremendous amount of innovation that's being shown in the private sector. So you have all these different companies trying different approaches to space flight, space exploration, space utilization. And inevitably, when you have that explosion of different kinds of innovation, you see new ways of doing things, and you also see the cost of space access going down dramatically.
Driven by science, adventure, and the lure of the next big thing, this new wave of entrepreneurs share a common higher aspiration to help achieve in space what the earlier pioneers did for air travel, creating reliable and regular access to orbit.
We are focused not only on making these vehicles reusable, but on making them so reusable that they can fly very, very frequently, many times per day.
We want to democratize space and make it radically lower cost so that more people can experience it and bring the benefits of space down to Earth.
We've got companies that are looking at reducing the cost to get to orbit by almost 2 orders of magnitude, almost 100 times less than what we paid for in flying the shuttle.
Just like the early barnstorming days of commercial aviation, American innovation is alive and well as it enters the next generation of space travel.
People forget that Boeing was once Bill Boeing in a little red barn in Seattle. The little red barn is still there. It's now a Boeing museum.
For young people watching this, who knows what they'll be pioneering in 10, 20 years. And to jump in and, if they have an interest in it, there's going to be more and more opportunity. And I think that's what's really exciting about the commercialization of space.
And it couldn't come at a more important time, helping to bring America's lagging space launch frequency back toward what it used to be, competitive with Europe and Russia.
I think it's clear that private space exploration and private space flight is a growing industry. There are many different companies, including ours, that are hiring lots of folks to build these vehicles, to manufacture these vehicles, test them, and to operate them.
People don't realize that in order to keep 6 astronauts safe and productive on the space station, it takes 6,000 people here on the ground to support them and the experiments and the work that they do.
Is going to be whole new ways of doing things. It's probably going to be like when they created the steam engine and the steam locomotive. It just opens up so many things, and we don't know what we'll find and what will come of it.
Instead of launching a very expensive satellite the size of a school bus, what if you could place 100 smaller satellites in orbit for a fraction of the cost on a regular basis? Imagine what you could do with a constellation of small satellites. Imagine a distributed network of deep space optics that are individually no larger than king-sized pillows, but when precisely positioned in orbit, are able, through software interpolation, to resolve with the power of a much larger telescope. What if another constellation of satellites offered mobile phone towers in the sky, providing unlimited bandwidth for voice, data, video, and whatever's next, no matter where you are on the planet's surface? From growing perfect protein crystals in microgravity to creating the next life-saving vaccine, to placing millions of internet servers in protected orbiting clusters where the chilled vacuum lets heat dissipate, eliminating one of the largest uses of electricity down here on Earth. Who knows what resourceful and innovative things people will come up with? Today, universities and even some high schools are already launching bundles of tiny satellites.
All transportation technologies tend to be enabling to large other sectors of the economy. For every dollar that an airplane company makes somewhere, many hundreds of dollars of other economic activity are created thereby or enabled thereby because people who want to be in the flower business or the fresh fish business or have business travel that they want to conduct don't think of themselves as being in the air transportation business.
Space entrepreneurs have to look to the same economic markets and the same economic rules that drive every other commercial human activity.
So here we stand on the threshold of another transformational moment propelling us into the future. What are we living without right now that will soon become an integral part of our everyday lives as the speed of technology progresses faster and faster with reliable and regular access to space?
If you have an asteroid about 95% nickel, that's a lot of that nickel and probably close to what we know are our reserves here on Earth. And that's a very important metal in using to make strong steel and other alloys of steel.
That's why people should care about whether space becomes sufficiently accessible that those things become economic goods instead of economic costs. When they're cheap enough, they're resources and we can use them.
After all, in the end, the Earth is a closed system, right? The organisms on the Earth recycle waste products into something we can use. We have to learn how to do that on a smaller scale in space if we're going to settle space.
With less expensive, reusable systems and growing availability, the next generation of spaceflight will deliver another order of magnitude in human advancement. It will soon be as normal to us as clean water, electricity, food, and medicine are gradually becoming for most humans across the globe. We just don't realize it yet. Perhaps one of you will be the next innovator, entrepreneur, the next engineer or programmer, the next explorer or educator who will lead us on a new frontier that no one else sees coming. It starts now with us, each of us, and the next steps we choose to take, not just about spaceflight, but education and commerce and public service, helping to prepare the next generation to make another giant leap forward.
It's really exciting to see this next generation of students really get inspired by it and want to continue to study science and technology and engineering.
We're at a really important moment in space history right now. This great inflection point where we go from something that is available to only a few people to something that is open to many more people.
When I hear astronauts talk about their experience of seeing the Earth in space, where they're looking at the Earth from the outside in, and for many of them, this experience of seeing our planet in this incredibly different way really changes your life. It changes the way you view the world that we live on.
This, it honestly to me is one of the most important things I've done, because I long ago realized NASA itself could not do all the space exploration, even with all the other countries' space agencies. It had to be commercial.
This isn't just about rockets and spaceports. It's about continuing as a bold civilization, one that dares to believe we can do better than the generations before us, because that's what they would have wanted. One that expects our children and grandchildren to be greater and bolder than us. That is the spirit that will take us where no one has gone before. And that is the open invitation of Spaceport America.